zone that we'll talk more about as the game goes on. But if UCLA can score, gives them a big advantage to try and make this game faster.
Now the Bruins have won the last 2 games by a combined 71 points over Boston U and Lehigh. Vern Harris, Randy Richardson, and John Floyd are officials, and it goes out of bounds off the opening tip.
And because those big scoring margins is because of them picking up full after scores.
Meaning the offense has to lead to the defense for them.
Well, yeah, because they're not going to pick up full unless they score. So if they can score against this matchup zone, we'll see it on the next possession. Then they can set up that press and make this game faster. But that's the other thing with this UCLA team. At least now, their defense is going to have to generate a lot of offense as Bilodeau gets the easy deuce.
Bilodeau is the guy leading the way, averaging 16 points for the Bruins in his first year here. Also 7 rebounds to go with it to lead the team.
Well, and that's the thing. I think UCLA, their percentages from 2 aren't bad at 46, but under 30 from 3. I think that will continue to evolve. I think, again, with all these new players, guys got to get comfortable within the system. These players make more shots in practice, which you could say for a lot of teams, but I just think guys will settle in, and that 3-point percentage is going to go up.
Shot clock at 2, and a deep heave off the mark, too strong from Isaiah Griffin, but a fresh 20.
That's another thing in the Idaho State scouting report is they really crashed the offensive board. This isn't a bad team, Guy. They took USC to the wire. They took Arizona State to the wire. A couple nights ago, they beat University of San Diego. So this team is capable. And if they're going to hang around, if this game doesn't get fast, UCLA is really going to have to rebound their own board. Because Idaho State's coming.
Ryan Looney, the head coach, they front-loaded their schedule with bye games. And to your point, Don, they out-rebounded those 3 teams you mentioned. Eric Daly with the basket, but they were dominant on the boards against USC.
Yeah, that's why they almost won the game. Well, here's the thing. We've already mentioned this Idaho State matchup zone, and we'll talk more about it as we see it. But Mick Cronin played matchup zone at Cincinnati, so I'm pretty sure he's got the counters for whatever this matchup zone looks like for Idaho State.
Ryan Looney, who spent 15 years at the Division II, the NAIA level, from the Spokane area in the state of Washington.
Did a good job. They got hammered in the portal after last year, and so they had to go out and build a whole new roster. And he did it with a different way. Some D2 guys, some community college guys. But they've obviously come together quick because, as I just mentioned, they're competing against these high major D1s and taking teams down to the wire.
And Montana State out of the Big Sky, just like Idaho State last night, took Northwestern down to the wire. Connor Hollenbeck denied at the rim. And here comes Sky Clark up ahead to Kobe Johnson. And that alley-oop attempt gets broken up. And then a foul on Kobe Johnson on that loose ball goes against UCLA.
Here you take a look, and I was joking before the game started. We could put this graphic up, change the name for any college basketball game we do, it seems like nowadays, with all the movement. But it's just the way it is. It is what it is in college basketball, and these head coaches got to figure it out, especially like Idaho State. You mentioned their schedule. They got to be ready to go right out of the gate.
Jake O'Neal getting crowded. An open look for Griffin, and he hits.
Again, UCLA much more intense, a lot more enthusiasm on the defensive end versus that game against New Mexico. It's looked a whole lot different here the last 2. That's why they've had such big blowouts.
There's Daly showing off the skill set.
I like Daly. Does a lot of things to help you win. Not really a scorer, but can rebound, can defend multiple positions, active defensively. He does a lot of things out there that show up in the box score.
And he's working his way into shape. He's been working hard after practice, putting in the extra work with Dave Andrews, the strength and conditioning coach at UCLA, to make sure that he does not wear down as this season goes along. It's out of bounds off of UCLA. 7 on the shot clock for Idaho State. Daly's averaging 11 points and 6.5 rebounds a game right now.
The number 1 in the Idaho State jersey looks familiar for all old Pac-12 fans. Dylan Darling used to play at Washington State. Now at Idaho State, their leading scorer. It just under 14 a game.
He went to Central Valley High School in Spokane, the same high school as the head coach, Brian Looney, and was committed to Idaho State, was going to come to Idaho State out of high school before Washington State came in and recruited him. But he was scoring 30 points a game in high school.
And not a big guy, so getting 30 a night at his size, you're doing something.
Here's Bilodeau.
It's become the one staple of the UCLA offense. Bilodeau in that mid-post area, stepping off the block so he doesn't have to back guys down. If you step off the post into that mid-post, you have more options. You can turn and face, you can shoot that jumper, you can drive right or left, instead of trying to just bully guys with your back to the defender. And he's really worked on that, being able to knock down that 12 to 15 footer, and then that brings defenders close to you. Now you can use the dribble to try and get past him and get to the rim.
Fouls on Evan Otten, his first team foul. Tough catch inside for Sebastian Mack, and he gets fouled. And that's number 2 on the bench.
Sebastian Mack, ever since last year, guy, you know, he's very good at drawing fouls. And I think what happened last year is he's good at selling fouls too, but officials kind of caught up to him as the season went on last year and weren't giving him as many of those calls. And other teams were reading the scouting report saying, look, this kid wants to drive and either score or get fouled, and they just started backing off. So the job for Sebastian Mack this summer was to become a more confident perimeter shooter, to open up those driving lanes that weren't being given to him as the season wore on last year.
He's a good free throw shooter, too.
Really good.
Makes both. He's 85% on the season. And now some pressure. Quentin Meza off the bench, getting hounded, and he's able to break the press.
Well, teams know now that when UCLA scores, they're coming. I think this isn't something to jumpstart their season. I think UCLA is going to become that team where they are pressing. They have depth now. They have athleticism, so they are going to be coming after every make. And if you're not prepared, you're going to see what happened at Boston University in the second half and then Lehigh last Friday. They just overwhelm you with all that ball pressure.
Another open look for Isaiah Griffin, and that's his second 3 of the night.
5 of 19 coming in, Griffin, from behind the line, so a good start for him.
He banged the first one that he took off the backboard, and then he's hit back-to-back threes. Mack can't answer, but Daly's there.
Talking about with Daly, just seems to find the ball in the right place all the time. Easy put back there.
Coming off a 17-point performance is Daly. Idaho State has not really been able to get anything off inside of the three-point arc.
That's
yet.
what I'm saying. Why I've said a couple times, it just looks different. Like this UCLA defense is just swarming, and then right on cue they get a layup.
Griffin's got all 8. He had the mismatch on Clark. Daly loses it, and here comes Griffin again. Charging towards the rim, and he draws the foul on Bilodeau. That's his first and the second team foul. So after a fast UCLA start, Idaho State on the back of Isaiah Griffin making a push. Okay. Quick push from Idaho State because Isaiah Griffin hit 2 threes, made a 2-point basket, and now he's going to the free throw line.
Well, you had to assume that Idaho State wasn't going to be intimidated after already having gone to Arizona State, gone to USC. So if they were intimidated, they've gotten it out of their system. And Griffin Obviously not. It's gotten a couple clean looks to make this a 2-point game here early.
These two programs first met in the 1977 NCAA tournament. That was the first all-time meeting, the Sweet 16. And Idaho State beat UCLA at the Marriott Center in Provo.
Dylan Andrews in the game for the first time in a couple games. Good to see him back. Trent Perry in the game as well for UCLA.
Andrews had been dealing with a groin issue, so he didn't play in the previous two, as Don said, and so he comes off the bench tonight. But that's not his expected role when you look at what the best version of this team is.
No. I think working his way back. I don't know. We don't know if he's on a minutes restriction tonight or not, but I'm assuming that he'll be a starter moving forward. But that's the thing, Guy, with this UCLA team, they have a lot of depth at the guard position. And I think minutes are still being earned this early in the season. And so it's not a given that Dylan Andrews is going to play 34 minutes a night like he played last year. Or Sky Clark, he's a veteran. Trent Perry, you got a lot of guys.
But I mean, you have to have depth, don't you, at the guard position to press the way they want to press.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the performance will keep you on the floor too, offensively on the other side. Last year, Andrews and Mack had to play tons of minutes just because they didn't have any guard depth. Well, they went out and got some. Kobe Johnson too. So I think guys are really playing for roles right now in only the 5th game of the season. You know, Sky Clark's numbers haven't been great offensively to start the season, only averaging a little under 6 points, but defensively his metrics and his effect on the game on the defensive end has been off the charts. Number of deflections, charges taken, steals.
Griffin, oh, he is feeling it. His 3rd three of the night.
They better get somebody on him, because when guys come in here, we've seen it year after year, Guy comes in here, hits his first few, and all of a sudden he's off to the races and he's a problem. So let's see what adjustment UCLA makes or who they put on him to try and slow him down.
First lead of the game for Idaho State. Here's Bilodeau looking aggressive. Gets it back from Andrews, and he swishes the three.
And Bilodeau, same, hasn't gotten off to a great start from behind the three-point line. 3 of 13 coming in, so let's see if that gives him a spark of confidence from three. He's off to a good start overall. Leads the team in scoring and rebounding, but he's a better three-point shooter than he's shown so far in the first 4 games.
Griffin gives it up to Blake Daberco, and that's out of bounds to UCLA.
About Trent Perry taking the challenge against Griffin. Just simple. I think a mistake by Perry going down, stunting, trying to get the ball out of the. You never go strong side double, and then Bilodeau, late clock three. If UCLA is going to achieve what I think a lot of people, including me, can achieve, they're going to have to collectively get more confident from behind the three-point line. In this day and age, if you're shooting under 30, what's the other team going to do? They're going to start zoning you. But again, I think they have the personnel to be a much better three-point shooting team than they've shown.
The guy who's shooting best from three is, by the percentage at least, is Stefanovic. 2 on the clock, and Bilodeau can't get that to go.
Got to finish that. He's the only guy that scored for Idaho State so far. We're 8 minutes in.
Right, Griffin's got all 12. The rest of the team 0 of 5 shooting.
See, this is what we thought. If they could get it into the front court, they're going to use a lot of that shot clock on each possession.
Griffin.
At this point, how is Griffin even open at all?
Good out of his hands.
Right. But that's a mistake by Dylan Andrews. Guy's already got 12 points. He shouldn't even have any airspace to get it off.
Foul on Daberco, his first third team for Idaho State. The Big Sky made noise last night against the Big Ten and trying to do it again tonight. (13 to 12) with 11:40 remaining in the first half here at Pauley Pavilion. 3 players have scored 23 of the 25 points in this game. And, well, for Idaho State, just one guy.
Yeah, I would say this, that Idaho State's done a pretty good job of controlling the complexion of this game. It's not fast yet like UCLA wants it. Big reason why they've been able to keep the score the way it is, but obviously Griffin heating up from the perimeter has helped as well. So I think the job, and I've said it a couple times already, is for UCLA to get this game going faster, try and turn Idaho State over, and score at the other end.
Both these teams in the 300s in tempo coming into play.
But Guy, I think that's going to change for UCLA. I really do. I think teams are going to try and slow them down, but I think moving forward or moving ahead the rest of the year, UCLA is going to want to be faster than they've been in the past, or even how they've started the year. They're much better when they're attacking defensively and creating turnovers, steals, and getting it down the other way.
To beat the clock, and it's banked in by Daly.
There's no pictures in the box score, Guy.
Oh my gosh. In a game of horse, well, I don't know if you could.
Well, at this point, UCLA will take any threes however they can get them.
Unbelievable. It gets poked out of his hands.
Good awareness, though, to know that the shot clock's at 2 and gets rid of it. That's one of those you just throw up there, and hopefully one of your teammates can go get an offensive rebound.
How about going right, moving to his right for a lefty, too?
Sometimes when your expectation goes down as a shooter, the ball goes in.
Oh.
You know, he didn't expect to make that, and he made it.
Yep. The foul, by the way, was on Dylan Andrews. 2 on him, in and out for A.J. Bergen.
Here's the problem, and I mentioned it right off the top. That's the 4th offensive rebound for Idaho State already.
Kobe Johnson takes it away with numbers, 4-on-1. Johnson lays it in.
He's one of the better on-ball defenders in the Big Ten. I think that will prove itself to be true the more this goes along. Really good at using his hands to poke balls away, getting passing lanes, create steals.
Can Idaho State get any scoring with Griffin on the bench? So far, the answer is no. 8-0 UCLA run. William Kyle appearing in the game for the first time tonight for UCLA, and Mack draws the foul. Let's go back to the defense.
Kobe Johnson just really good at being in the right place, but also using his hands to deflect balls and get steals, and that time took it himself all the way and laid it in.
Well, that's what you're talking about. Career steals per game.
You want to hear something crazy, Guy?
Yes.
That I'm sure you saw. I know it's a small sample size. We're like 4 or 5 games in.
Yeah.
But Great Osibor at UW, Washington, is leading the league in rebounding and steals. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life, where a guy's leading a league in rebounding but also steals. That was career steals we saw, not this year.
Can he keep it up?
I need research to do some research for me and see if anybody in any high Power 4, Power 5 conference team has ever led their conference in rebounding and steals.
Wow.
I don't think so.
I mean, Matisse Thybulle.
No, not rebounding, steals for sure.
At what? You made me think of a Husky. Under 10 minutes to go here. And you were not a threat on that list in your day?
Not the steals for sure. You had to play defense to get steals.
Darling gets it to go, and he's fouled. What a tough shot. And he's the first Bengal other than Isaiah Griffin to score.
If this game is going to stay looking like this, meaning Idaho State's going to control the tempo and use a lot of this shot clock, UCLA can't get impatient defensively. They can't start to gamble, can't start to, force the issue. You got to be disciplined, keep guys in front, and make them make shots over the top without fouling.
Darling had 20 points and 5 rebounds in the loss to USC. What was ultimately a 6-point loss for Idaho State.
This matchup zone, what they do is you communicate and you just keep switching everything. Guys come through your area, you switch it, hand them off to another guy.
That is blocked by Darling out of bounds with 6 on the shot clock.
So it looks like nobody's ever open in a switching matchup zone.
So when you're playing offense against it, is there something predictable about it? It's got to be confusing.
It's confusing because you're trying to run man offense because it looks like a man defense, but it's a zone because guys stay in their area. They just hand guys off and communicate. So offensively, you start doing some screen-to-screener action, but you got to have a lot of movement and make them miscommunicate.
And
like that
for the dunk. Nice inbounds from Sky Clark.
Like that. I think the more this goes on, Guy, I think Will Kyle is going to be more of a factor, especially on the defensive end. They don't really have much rim protection in their starting lineup, at least not now. But Mara and Kyle, both pretty good rim protectors. Kyle, hyper athletic, can impact the game on both boards and protecting that rim.
Foul here on Mack. No, the foul's on Kobe Johnson. This is a high school high jumper.
Well, this is what you want, miscommunication in a matchup zone. If they don't communicate, he just slipped that. Easy dunk. Now Idaho State in the bonus, so even more discipline from the UCLA defense to guard these guys without fouling.
Only been to the line 3 times, or taken 3 free throws in this game. That's Griffin back into the game, and Mack knocks it away from him. Here's Lazar Stefanovic.
Doing a nice job pinching on Bilodeau down there, fronting him, and then the backside guy taking him out.
But Bilodeau gets free for a 3.
It's only a matter of time. He's too good of a shooter at Oregon State the first 2 years that he'll get back on track with his 3-point percentage.
He was a 14-6 guy last year, points and rebounds. UCLA already made as many threes in this game, 3, as they made the other night against Lehigh when they went 3 of 13.
Didn't need a lot of threes against Lehigh, it turns out.
It's true. And there's a foul underneath on Evan Otten, and he'll go to the line. The foul's on Will Kyle. It's his first 17.
That's the trick, Guy, when you're trying to make your team play as hard as they can on the defensive end, be disruptive, that intensity I've been talking about. But ratchet it down just a tick so that you're not fouling. If you're playing 100 miles an hour, you're going to foul. You have to be intent and defend with purpose, but not so fast that you're putting people on the free throw line, especially once you know the other team's in the bonus. Like, I don't think it's going to be a factor in determining this game, but it's just building habits defensively that you want to play the same way every night.
One thing you notice if you watch UCLA, it's so much focus on the process. They beat Lehigh by 40. You look up Tyler Bilodeau, Sky Clark, these guys are playing late into these games. Ooh, wow. Whoa. William Kyle. Can you put a dunk that doesn't go down on a highlight reel?
No, that's
You
illegal, dude. I mean, it looked nice, but come on.
In the midst of a 6-game homestand for UCLA. Bruins leading Idaho State 25-17. With 7:50 remaining in the first half. Tyler Bilodeau, the leading Bruins so far with 8 points. UCLA is shooting almost 70% in the game. They have not missed back-to-back shots. So they followed every miss with a make.
And that's interesting because you would have thought coming into this game, if UCLA was shooting 70% at the under 8 timeout, they'd be up 20. They're not. They're up 8. So Idaho State's done a pretty good job of controlling the speed of the game, executing in the half court. Obviously, Isaiah Griffin getting off to the start that he did has kept this game relatively close.
Will Kyle shooting 2 free throws, fouled by Evan Otten before the break as Griffin sits back down. Second free throw coming here for Kyle. And he finds the stroke on that one.
That allows UCLA to pick up full, get into their press, and try and speed this game up as we've been talking about all night. Guy, this is not going to be a high-scoring game at this point. You see Idaho State takes this thing under 10 almost every possession when they get it across half court.
It's 4 now. Daberco will let it fly, and a foul underneath with 1 on the shot clock. All right, Sloan, thank you. Number 6, Wisconsin with the win in volleyball. We welcome those of you that were watching that here to Pauley Pavilion, along with Don McLean, Guy Haberman, UCLA, coming off back-to-back wins of a combined 71 points, playing a Idaho State team out of the Big Sky that's been tested this year and has played well, including a game recently with USC that went to the limit.
took Arizona State to the limit in Tempe. So this team has seen this before, and they've gotten off to a pretty good start. We started the show tonight talking about contrasting styles. Idaho State wants to keep this game slower, execute in the half court. UCLA wants to speed it up and make it a faster game. Can only do that if they're generating offense to set up that pressure defense out of makes.
UCLA has been shooting it really well so far in this game. It's falling from 3, which was a pleasant development for the Bruins as Trent Perry misses that, and it's chased down and saved by Idaho State, and a fresh shot clock.
I'd like to see Perry step back behind the line on that last one.
Take a look at our scoring leaders so far for this game, powered by Ram Trucks. Isaiah Griffin sitting right now 12 points, the first 12 points of the game for Idaho State, including a couple of threes.
He got off to a really hot start, but give Idaho State credit. He went to the bench, and they've been able to keep this thing under double digits.
Well, they're rebounding, right? That's been part of the story.
And UCLA knew that coming in. This Idaho State team isn't real big, but very good on the offensive board.
Tough shot, bothered and missed.
It's a couple times tonight Bilodeau missed shots you would think he would knock down.
Quentin Meza hounded by Trent Perry. And you could say that for anybody who's holding the ball for Idaho State right now. The Bruins right in the jersey of the ball handler.
But they haven't really been able to turn him over much yet.
And just 4 turnovers. Deep 3 for Hollenbeck, and Kyle there for the box out.
Sign of a well-coached team when you know pressure's coming, and the ball pressure from UCLA has been really good, and they haven't turned it over.
Here's Matt. Up high to Kyle.
And see, that's what I'm saying. I said it earlier. I think the more this goes along, the more Will Kyle's going to play just because of his athleticism. He's not an offensive player, but he can do that. Finish lobs, offensive rebounds, and a good delivery by Mack on that last one.
In middle school and high school, a 400-meter, 800-meter runner, and a high jumper.
Well, like it looked like out of Mack's hands that was going to be too high. I'm not sure there is anything too high for Will Kyle.
It's his second dunk of the night, too.
Well, this is how Idaho State guy is going to stay in this game, is take advantage of the UCLA ball pressure, make them foul, and get to the foul line.
But Jake O'Neal is a good free throw shooter, misses the front end on the 1-and-1. The foul was on Sebastian Mack, his first, and now a blocking foul on O'Neal, and that's his first and the 7th team foul. So free throws coming.
Feels like one more look at this Will Kyle finish. It feels like UCLA should be up more than 9 right now, but they're not because of the offensive rebounding at Idaho State. They've gotten the line a few times. We'll see if the last 5:39 of this half, UCLA hasn't really been able to get it going faster. See if they can do it.
And for those who just joined, you haven't seen Dylan Andrews yet tonight, but he is back and active for UCLA after missing the last 2 games. Didn't start, but has come off the bench as Mack makes the first free throw. There's Andrews. Obi Johnson getting an extended rest with his 2 fouls as well for the Bruins. And Mack gets both.
Can't do that.
Going to the corner.
Cannot.
Need a timeout.
Cannot enter it to the short corner over there. Good presence to call the timeout. But you're going to use up all your timeouts if you keep throwing it into that corner off the baseline out of bounds.
Experience the expanded Big Ten Conference. Like, go back and watch every type of game Wisconsin has played if you want, because they've played about every type of game so far this year.
How about them too? Looking at the Big Ten stats again, I know it's early, but they've shot, I believe, 142 free throws as a team. They are shooting 89% as a team. Another thing I've never seen before. I know it's only 4 or 5 games, but that is unheard of. A team shooting just under 90 from the line on that many attempts.
They're 47 of 49 in their last 2 games.
That's ridiculous. How about playing them late game situations?
Yeah.
And you're down, game's over because they ain't missing at the foul line.
Well, are they going to score? You know, they score over 100 on Arizona.
Right.
Then they get tested and have to adjust against Rio Grande Valley the other night. They do. Your guy John Tange is also excellent at the free throw line.
He can score, it turns out.
21 of 22 the other night.
Against Arizona, yeah.
And then 10 of 10 the next game.
I mean, think about that. How many guys in any league shoot 89 individually for a season? Their team is shooting 89.
5 on the shot clock. Daberco off the front rim.
I mean,
it's out of bounds.
That's a perfect possession for Idaho State. Take it all the way down. They didn't make the 3, but used all the clock.
Friday, the Bruins are back on the floor for a matchup with Cal State Fullerton. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app.
I will be here Friday. Where are you going to be, Haberman?
We'll have that promo later. It's football. Maryland, College Park. Talking to one of our officials here, Randy Richardson. He's telling me how great the environment for the Maryland Marquette game the other night was. As Sebastian Mack makes the basket and gets fouled.
Idaho State must have not read the scouting report on Sebastian Mack, because that's the 3rd time tonight he's gotten to the rim or gotten fouled.
Sean Jackson Green, his second, 8th team. I have to correct one thing. I gave you 47 of 49 from the free throw line. That's Tange from the free throw line. The 79 free throws the last 2 games is the Wisconsin team number. Well, speaking of, Sebastian Mack 7 of 7 at the line.
He showed that early last year as a freshman, that he was good at getting to the foul line and good at making them.
Here's Griffin, who had the 12 early points for Idaho State. Knocked away for a moment by Perry. And the scramble creates a look for Bergen, and he hits the 3.
Unlucky for UCLA. Thought they were getting a turnover, ball bounces around, and then Idaho State ends up with a 3. Still an 11-point lead for UCLA.
4 threes and 13 tries for the Bengals tonight. Open looks for Daly, and he's got it. His second of the game. He's perfect. 5 of 5 from the field for 12 points.
Good sign that UCLA's making 3s in rhythm tonight. A couple have been lucky, one off the side of the backboard, but even still, need to continue to gain confidence from behind the 3-point line. UCLA as a team.
Here comes Trent Perry. He'll fire. And he's fouled on the 3 by Quentin Meza. And Perry will shoot 3 free throws. And the freshman will be looking for his first points of the game when we return.
Game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Hopefully the analyst is good on that one.
The analyst is good on that one. Yogi Roth, I'll be there.
Yogi's going to, hopefully his shoulders are loose. Play-by-play guy gets heavy during those games.
Try to talk as little as possible per the request of my basketball analyst. That Nebraska-Wisconsin game, they got new play callers everywhere for both those teams. Dana Holgerson's probably the veteran play caller in that game, given some changes. We'll see who's calling plays at Wisconsin this weekend. First bucket of the night, first points of the night for Trent Perry.
I think an important 339 guy. I think this game's going to go either way. If UCLA continues to push this lead out going into halftime, it may be too big of a margin for Idaho State to come back from. But if Idaho State can somehow find a way to keep this at 10 or less and gives themselves some confidence going into the locker room, but also, you know, some momentum heading into the second half.
Trent Perry fouled on a 3 before the break. Makes all 3 free throws. Nice step back move, but can't finish it. And then it goes out of bounds, out of the hands of Jaden Brown.
Adai Mara in the game for the first time tonight. See if he can have an impact with his size on both ends.
7'3".
At 16 the other night against Lehigh.
Had a big dunk.
Yeah. Hey, he's been hurt for a while. He was out for a long time, so still working his way back with his conditioning and his rhythm. But a good sign that he had those 16 points the other night. He could be a factor for this UCLA team.
Perry called for the offensive foul, his first.
I mean, there's just not a lot of 7-3 outside of Purdue in the league.
Perry with the push off.
There's a couple guys here and there, but if Mara can play his minutes and impact the game, he can be a weapon for Mick Cronin.
He was dealing with a foot
for a long time,
and they were really patient with it in the summer.
Yeah.
Here's Darling trying to get going, and he really hasn't gotten a clean look. But he gets Mara to fly by, squares it up, and is short again.
Took too much time.
Mara the rebound.
But you see that rebound? How I don't even think he left his feet, but just went right over the top of everybody.
And then he steps in and takes a charge. Jake O'Neal.
Good shot blockers make good decisions in the sense of when to go after the shot to try and block it, but also when to know just to take the hit and not go after the block. Nice job by Mara there, but here you just see the length of him. I mean, he got off his feet, but not much, and just over the top of everyone. He's not ready to be dominant, obviously, at this point, but I think he can continue to build confidence and understand where he can affect the game on both ends every night.
Perry to Stefanovic for the quick release.
See, that's where Mara struggles. When he gets in traffic, his base isn't strong enough yet to hold his ground, so he gets knocked off in the paint sometimes.
Bergen's second 3 of the game. And Mara travels and turns it over. His open receiver didn't come open as he expected. Coming up on the halftime show presented by State Farm, Mike Hall and Robbie Hummel. A lot of action from around the league today, including if your name is Ace, you led your team in scoring.
Tell you what,
Baldwin for Penn State and Ace Bailey for Rutgers.
Last night there was some wipeouts, wasn't there? 80 to 30, 108 to 30 something.
What do you think of Purdue? What do you think of Purdue?
I like Purdue. I think they'll continue to get better and evolve without, obviously, that big guy that's down in Memphis, but ran into a tough Marquette team last night.
Tough finish from Connor Hollenbeck. Down to 12. UCLA's led by as many as 17 in this half.
What I'm saying, guy, if Idaho State could keep it here or even cut into it a little more, they got to feel pretty good going into halftime.
Mack attacks and gets fouled. We'll go back to the line where he's been very productive. He ended up with the students.
Well,
that was on Bergen, his second.
If you're a guy that wants to get fouled and forces the issue on the defense and makes them make decisions, you better be a good foul shooter. So why would you try and get fouled if you can't make free throws? I've never understood that. There's guys that draw fouls all the time, and they're like a 60% foul shooter. Mack isn't. He's been a good foul shooter since day one here at UCLA.
I've never heard of a volume foul shooter before.
Well, there's guys that play, that slashers that aren't good shooters, that play to contact, try and play through contact to get to the foul line, but they're not very good foul shooters. It's never made any sense to me. But Max, the opposite. He's good at drawing fouls, and he makes his free throw.
9 of 9, and UCLA is 13 of 14 at the free throw line. Dylan Darling averages 14 points, but he has just 3 for Idaho State in this first half.
Yeah, I don't think you want to come in on the scouting report as the leading scorer of the opposition. You're probably going to get guarded.
He gets open here, but too strong.
Another offensive rebound.
The shot clock was late to reset, or it did not hit the rim. Shot clock violation.
Yeah. So the shot clock should be reset to 30 now. There we go.
Does this get any rim?
It does not.
Boy, that's close. But it did. And Vern Harris was all over that.
Well, obviously UCLA now can take it all the way down for the last shot of the half.
Here's Mack. And now stoppage again.
Well, there was a .4 differential. It was 30.4 on the game clock, and then 30 on the shot clock.
I think it was points.
Well, they turned the shot clock off for some reason.
Yep. So John Floyd stopped everything. I think it was .6. Let's see. Do we have it now? That was .7.
I don't remember it being .7, but whatever. It's probably not going to matter.
You said .4. I said .6.
Right.
All right.
Could have been .9.
I'm partial to rounding up. Supposed to be scoring averages.
See where UCLA goes here. There's this matchup zone we've been talking about all night for Idaho State. Assuming a high ball screen here for Mack.
Here comes Perry with it.
Small pick and roll.
Mack elevates and cannot get it to go. 1 second, and that is too strong from Jaden Brown. But a strong first half for the Bruins. They hold Idaho State to 27 points.
UCLA was never able, or on most nights.
Isaiah Griffin, the leading scorer for Idaho State. He had the first 12 points of the game for them, Don, but he did not score under the 13-minute mark of the first half.
Dylan Andrews starting the second half for UCLA.
After not starting the game, and Blake Daberco gets his first basket of the night.
Again, Idaho State's done a really nice job of not turning it over against this UCLA defense and using a lot of the clock and not letting UCLA make the game fast. But UCLA can't get impatient. I mentioned that on the defensive end, getting impatient and gambling and trying to get steals. Same thing on offense. Just because the game isn't fast, you can't force it. Your defense, UCLA's defense, is going to have to make this game fast.
So Dylan Andrews turns it over and gets subbed out 31 seconds into this second half. Sky Clark, who started the game, in.
Apparently a teachable moment for Dylan Andrews to start the second half.
Well said. That ball poked away. Daly down to the floor with it goes Hollenbeck, and alternating possession to the arrow we go, and the ball belongs to UCLA.
But I think that's a good example, guy. Remember what I said early in this game about how much guard depth UCLA has and how guys are still playing for their roles right now and playing for minutes. So mistakes, obviously, they got other guys that can come in. And you saw it there with Andrews starting the second half and then getting pulled after 30 seconds.
He only played 4 minutes in the first half. UCLA +1 on the boards.
Yeah,
Bilodeau, that's pure.
I like that. Don't turn your back to the defender and try and back him down. It's really hard. Just inside pivot, square up, and knock down the 14-footer.
The average is 16 a game so far. He's got 10. Griffin misses everything after a good first half, and here comes Sebastian Mack.
Go right back to him.
Daly loses it. And it's the 7th turnover of the night for UCLA.
Kind of what I'm saying. Daly forced that a little bit. Where were you going with that dribble?
Nice move by O'Neal inside, and the cleanup for Evan Ott.
Another offensive rebound for Idaho State. It's been a big factor for them in this game.
UCLA led by as many as 17 points late in that first half. Here's Johnson, and he hits the three.
Well, now UCLA 5 for 8 from behind the three-point line. We talked about them being under 30 as a team coming in. Great sign for Mick Cronin and his staff. Guys are knocking them down tonight.
They really struggled against Lehigh. Here's Darling, and it will not go down. He cannot buy a bucket, and Bilodeau the board. Johnson aggressive, and he's fouled on the floor. Those going to be a discussion. Basket counts. No, hold on. Basket does not count. Foul on the floor.
If this had turned into an NBA game, that would count. Not at this level, that doesn't count. The foul is right there. You don't get the extra step to finish the play.
The foul on O'Neal is his third. And so he'll sit down. One of the leading scorers for Idaho State did not score in the first half. Mack cut off. And then throws it out of bounds off of Idaho State.
Same thing we mentioned in the first half. Entering the ball on that baseline into that corner usually doesn't result in good things. Mack got stuck down there. Luckily got the deflection from Idaho State out of bounds. 19 on the shot clock.
Andrews back in, and he gets it into Johnson, who nearly throws it away. Bilodeau wants it. Bilodeau faces and fires and in and out. But there's Johnson.
There shouldn't have been any hesitation from Bilodeau, though. You just made one. The defender gave you the space. Knock it down.
Hollenbeck does that.
When you inside pivot, guy, you create space on your own. So if the defender doesn't take up the space, it's an automatic. You're letting that fly.
Mack, aggressive, and he draws the foul, but he's in a lot of pain on the floor right now. The basket counts, and he fell hard. He's able to pop up. He was in the air for a long time.
He's so good at selling these fouls, too. Ooh, with his head and arms, but got caught in the air that time. I'll tell you when that one's going to hurt as much as it hurt right now, tomorrow morning.
And now foul trouble already. O'Neal with three. Now Evan Otten, who was whistled for that one, with three. Mack makes it 10 of 10 at the free throw line.
He had a game last year where he was 13 of 13.
Now, to your point on tomorrow morning, UCLA does play again on Friday.
A lot of treatment tomorrow on that, I'm sure.
Nice touch, and he just doesn't go down for Brown, and now a tie-up, and it'll be Idaho State ball on the.
Did you see that, though? Daly and Bilodeau were fighting each other. That allowed Idaho State to tie him up.
There's the upcoming schedule for the Bruins with Fullerton, Southern Utah, and Washington. Those three games part of the second half of a 6-game homestand. As Jaden Brown can't connect.
What you didn't see on that graphic schedule, you saw the Arizona, but North Carolina and Gonzaga are in December as well.
Johnson, good position and the score. And North Carolina will be at Madison Square Garden.
Gonzaga's at the new Intuit Dome here in Los Angeles, where the Clippers play.
UCLA trying to keep distance from Idaho State here early in the second. Basketball on the Big Ten Network is brought to you by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Bruins had that wake-up call in Henderson, Nevada against New Mexico, game number 2 of the season. You mentioned it earlier, Don, and Mick Cronin said it this week. He really feels like his team has improved their defensive intensity immensely.
Yeah.
And their competitive spirit.
Yeah,
those are his words.
We don't know this for sure, but if this UCLA team we've watched for the last 2.5 games played that New Mexico game again, they'd probably win.
Like you said, they're not going to get that chance, but they're going to get some really good chances coming up. And, you know, you said Arizona and North Carolina, Gonzaga, that Oregon game.
Yeah.
On the road.
It's a conference game, too.
And it's, you know, of sorts a rivalry, I would say. Historically, it's been some really good games in recent years between those two programs. They've been competing for conference championships.
And I think both teams, Oregon and UCLA, kind of the same level this year. Added new pieces, but had some returning guys. That's going to be a really, really competitive game in Eugene in early December.
Foul on Sebastian Mack, his second for UCLA.
I know these coaches don't like early December conference games, but if you're going to play a 20-game conference schedule, you kind of have to.
Shot clock low, and Darling still seems just so close to getting something to go down. Here's Daly looking to create, spins back and swishes.
Well, at his size, he can see over a lot of the top of the guys that are going to be guarding him at 6'7". Not a hyper athlete in terms of athleticism beating people, but long arms and big.
It's his second kind of off the dribble turnaround jumper of the night, too. Nice attack from Hollenbeck.
They're doing enough to stay connected, aren't they, Idaho State? Like, UCLA hasn't been able to deliver a knockout punch and really bust this thing open as Idaho State continues to hang in there.
I said to Ryan Looney today, well, how good is the Big Sky this year? We were talking about the fact that Montana State took Northwestern down to the wire yesterday out of the Big Sky. He said, well, it's hard to tell, you know, all these games we're playing these big-time games on the road. Griffin, that's his first bucket since midway point of the first half.
Speaking of Oregon, I had Montana, another Big Sky team, at Oregon a couple weeks ago, and they're picked to win the Big Sky. Really good backcourt.
6 minutes gone by here in the second. Bilodeau follows, and it comes to Clark. And he's still cold from beyond the arc so far this season. And Kobe Johnson commits his third foul on that loose ball.
Well, nice job by Bilodeau to get it back and then have the presence to kick it out. Mack with the extra one to Clark, and Clark is just really, you can tell he's now pressing a little bit from behind that three-point line. He was pretty clean. And just barely hit the front of the rim.
He's 3 of 11 on the season, 0 of 2 tonight. This is a guy who averaged 13 a game last year at Louisville. Had a 36-point performance in the ACC tournament. There's Will Kyle, who had a couple big dunks in the first half, appearing here in the second half and grabbing that rebound.
See, when Bilodeau gets that deep, he's easy to double.
Ball moving on that possession, and it results in Bilodeau's third three.
He's 3 for 3 tonight, a really good sign. 3 for 13 coming in.
Wow.
But get back to what I said, like when you get that deep a post position, the second defender's right there. If you step off that block into that mid post, now defenders got to travel out there if they want to double it and get it out of your hands.
Quentin Meza trying to get away from Dylan Andrews. One on the shot clock and a jump ball, and UCLA will take it on the possession arrow.
See, watch this. Look where he established his position. Well, that was a few seconds before, but steps out, knocks down the three. And I like that. I like him in that high-low situation too. If he's, a lot of the times he's going to be the post guy, the low guy, and somebody else is high. But if Kyle's in there or Mara and he's in there with them, he can step out and stretch the floor from behind the line.
So he started that possession in the paint?
In the paint, and then went out to the three-point line once Kyle established position down there.
Bilodeau's asking for it because he's got a mismatch underneath.
See, now he's the other guy on the high-low.
Kyle gives it to him, and Bilodeau has 15.
I like that action with those two guys.
Kyle is 6'9", and Bilodeau is 6'9". And now a steal for Clark, and he gets fouled by Quentin Meza.
Well, back-to-back possessions, high-low, but interchangeable. This time, Kyle, the high guy, sends it down to Bilodeau, the low guy, and he finishes the play. Bilodeau's got 15 all of a sudden.
Right on his average. That's 7 so far in the second half for him. 4 rebounds in this game for Bilodeau. He wants it again. He cuts it loose, and he hits another 3.
I'm telling you, he can really shoot. He's been struggling, 3 of 13 coming in, as I've mentioned, but I'm not surprised by this. 4 of 4.
18 points for Bilodeau. And it's pure too. It looks like it should go in when he lets it go.
You never know, guy. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2 to get you back on track. Most of the time, it's just 1, and he hit his first one, and he's made the next 3.
A foul underneath on Sky Clark on the box out. But it's Tyler Bilodeau's night.
He's their leading scorer, and he's been doing most of his damage so far this year down low. Tonight, stretching the floor, knocking them down.
Tonight's State of Success is sponsored by State Farm. 26% from 3 on the season. Tonight, different story. 7 of 11 as a team. 4 of 4 for Tyler Bilodeau.
Well, we started the show tonight talking about how elite UCLA's defense has been the last couple games, and when the offense can catch up to that defense, how good UCLA is going to be. Well, this is a big factor in that. 26% from behind the line coming in. Not saying they're going to go 7 of 11 every night and shoot 64%, but if they could become a more consistent three-point shooting team, they are going to be awfully tough to deal with.
So the point is, you think they have the talent to be a good three-point shooting?
Look, they're not going to be a great three-point shooting team, but they're certainly better than 26% as a group.
Darling draws the foul on Dylan Andrews. That's 3 on him.
Coach Mick Cronin, I was just watching him. He made sure Dylan Andrews knew that Dylan Darling was left-handed, meaning don't let him go left.
If Idaho State has any hope of getting back in this thing, they need Dylan Darling to get hot. He's gotten some looks today. Just can't get it to go, and even that's an indication because he's a 90% free throw shooter.
Well, we've talked about how well coached this team has been and how good of a year they've had, even though it hasn't been a lot of wins against high major teams. But you wonder the way they play when you get down 20 plus and you're a team that likes to use shot clock and, shorten the game. Well, if you get it down 20, it's hard to get back in the game if you're using a lot of clock.
Here's Trent Perry. And there is a 3 for Dylan Andrews. He gets it on the action.
Good find by Perry. Skip pass across. Andrews ready to shoot.
Trent Perry, the true freshman from Harvard Westlake here in the LA area. He talked to the media this week, and they said he was asked, "What do you want? What are you focused on your game?" And he said, I'm focused on winning. That's my focus.
Well, he won a lot at high school, that's for sure, at Harvard Westlake.
Bilodeau asking for it.
I like that.
And here's Perry. And he connects.
Bilodeau could have easily shot that foul line jumper. Instead went opposite to Perry. Wide open three.
You know, Mick Cronin said he thinks Trent Perry has some leadership qualities. It's just tough, a true freshman.
Yeah, the youngest guy on the team. How are you going to walk? Yeah, walk in the locker room and start telling everybody what's what.
Nice basket there from Bergen. But, you know, at a time when sometimes coaches, you think, no one wants to talk about a year from now because rosters change so much. Really seems like Mick Cronin sees Trent Perry as part of the future.
Look, when you saw this guard depth, and I've been talking about it all night, of UCLA, like you wondered if Trent Perry was going to get an opportunity as a freshman. And it speaks to how good Perry is and how ready he was playing at Harvard Westlake coming in here, because he is getting a pretty good opportunity to play. And so knocks down that three there. So, yeah, to your point, Guy, I think by next year, he is going to be one of the leaders on this team and be more vocal.
Will Kyle, who was in a dogfight under the basket for that rebound, got fouled and goes to the line. You figure Kyle making free throws will be a key for him with how much contact he attracts.
The ball not in his hands a lot, though. It will come, obviously, lobs. Sometimes you get fouled, but not really. It'll be that, getting offensive rebounds and trying to go back up and score.
He almost creates another one. It goes crashing into the first row. Another rebound, that is.
Again, if he can just perfect that role, it's really simple for guys like Will Kyle. Rebound, run, protect the rim. And if you score, it's a bonus. And if you do score, it's going to be because of your effort in doing those three things.
Well, it hasn't gone unnoticed. He got a nice hand there as he exited the game. Darling trying to get away from Trent Perry for a moment. And he does. And he hits the three. His first of the night.
UCLA has done a really good job on him tonight. Nothing has been easy for Dylan Darling.
I love what you said. You don't want to be the leading scorer coming in against a team that's trying to play defense.
Yep.
Or is playing defense, not trying to. Daly, no. And Stefanovic gets held on the loose ball by A.J. Bergen. That's his third foul and the fifth team foul on Idaho State. Coming up, the Big Show delivers highlights, post-game interviews, and complete analysis. That's next, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Doesn't get easier than that.
Well, second time tonight, miscommunication by Idaho State on the baseline out of bounds. Easy layup for Daly.
Daly now with 16, one shy of his season high. He's been aggressive on defense too. Daly's got 6 boards to go with those 16 points in this game. Daberco, nope. And rebound number 7 for Daly. Perry passed up the 3 and drives it all the way in.
UCLA now stringing together some stops and have blown this thing open. Just thinking about Stefanovic, Guy. He played the most minutes on the team last year. He's not, when Dylan Andrews is healthy, he's not even starting. And still has a great attitude, still practicing hard every day, still trying to make an impact. That's the kind of stuff you have to have if you're going to have a good team. This guy's willing to sacrifice to win games.
And Bilodeau commits the illegal screen foul. That's his second and the team 5th. All right, here's the inbounds. How did Eric Daly get so open? Little right shoulder. Hollenbeck in the front row. And Daly for 2 of his 16. Under 8 minutes remaining here in regulation, and turning into a dominant night for UCLA. Stay connected to Men's Hoops on social media. Follow at B1GMBBall on X, and then follow at B1GMBB on YouTube and Instagram to get immediate access to the best highlights, features, and teams you love. You catch up so quick on YouTube, going through all the highlights on the Big Ten page, game recaps. It's fantastic.
You got 18 teams now.
Right.
You got to keep track of in this league.
And they're not playing each other yet.
No.
UCLA shooting almost 59% in this game.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying at halftime, guy. Like, now the box score looks indicative of what the score is.
At halftime, it was a 14-point.
Yeah, up 26 now, and you look at the box score, you're like, okay, yeah, that looks right.
They've given up, what, 19 points in the second half. Darling may be getting going, but too late for Idaho State.
Yeah.
He's hit back-to-back shots. And Dylan Andrews stepped back, and over and back violation across the midcourt line, and a turnover for UCLA.
The old five out, 5 in. That's when a coach isn't happy with what his players on the court are doing when you do the 5 in, 5 out.
Didn't we just have a timeout?
Yes. Hey, here's the thing, though. Here's what he's guarding against. They're still building their habits, trying to, establish their identity on both ends. And you can't play the score when you're trying to do that. When you're up 26 or 24 now, group's not getting it done. Get 5 in there that will.
And a turnover for Idaho State. We saw him a little bit in the first half, but Dominic Harris, he came in at the end of the half. He's checked in for UCLA as part of that hockey change, wearing 8 in white for the Bruins. And goes back to your point, just how hard it is to crack this guard lineup. But he has some very prolific shooting numbers in his background. Here's Mack attacking, and again, he'll go to the line where he's 10 of 10 tonight. That's the 4th on Jake O'Neal, and the 6th team foul.
I think UCLA has to just think about continuing to build. We showed the schedule earlier, have Cal State Fullerton here on Friday and then Southern Utah Tuesday. And then things start to get real.
First miss at the line after a 10 of 10 start. He can still go 21 of 22 though, like John Tonje did the other night.
If he gets 10 more free throws in this game, I'm leaving. Seriously.
All right, something to watch for.
Yeah. Guy Haberman finishing the game by himself.
Dylan Darling has flipped the switch. And Kyle can't handle that pass from Harris, or at least can't corral it after he had a moment. 6 minutes to go here in regulation. Jaden Brown, and he cans that jumper.
Again, you don't double strong side. Kobe Johnson went to help out, and the offensive players, if you're smart, just kick it right back out to where Kobe Johnson came from, wide open 3. You know who does that, and they've had a lot of success at it, doubling from the strong side, is Tommy Lloyd in Arizona. I believe they do it at Gonzaga too, where Tommy Lloyd came from.
And how do they get away with it?
So you look at Kobe Johnson guarding the ball, it enters, okay? Now you can stunt and be halfway and help. He kind of goes, kick it right back out. And if the offensive player who entered it relocates to a different area, you're probably going to get open and get a shot. To answer your question, they get away with it because they teach it that way, so they don't get overcommitted to the ball. so they can get back to the shooter. But they also are saying, you know what? That guy on the strong side is not going to hurt us that much. He might make one, but they're not going to kill us by making threes if we go on the strong side.
Evan Otten fouled out for Idaho State. And Mack is at the line. Okay. 12 of 13. Started 10 of 10. 13 of 14.
UCLA is still picking up full.
Well, that's the one thing we've seen, right? They schedule these games for a reason.
Yeah.
To work. Schedule every game. There's a goaltend, and the basket counts for Jaden Brown.
Well, UCLA getting a little sloppy defensively here to close this game. Darling's getting loose. That time miscommunication led to a easy layup.
Darling's got 10 points in this half for Idaho State. There's Andrews too short. And down to the ground with it, but out of bounds when he was touching the ball is William Kyle, and so the ball goes to Idaho State. UCLA led by as many as 28 3 minutes ago. Won their previous two games by a combined 71, 40 over Lehigh, 31 over Boston U. 55 points for Idaho State tonight, though, more than either one of those teams scored against UCLA. Now Kobe Johnson commits his fourth foul.
That's an auto foul. When you're behind the offensive player in the paint, you reach around, that's an automatic foul.
6th team foul for the Bruins. Kobe's older brother, Jalen Johnson, tonight for the Hawks, had 15 and 14.
He's a good player
against the Warriors. He's averaging 19 and 10 on the season. He was the 11th overall pick 4 years ago. Idaho State's made his last 5 shots now. Daberco. Make it 6 straight buckets.
And Cronin is not happy right now because what I said earlier, you're trying to establish who you're going to be, and you do it in practice, you do it every game, and this has gotten away from him a little bit here.
Griffin can't convert, but he's fouled by Sky Clark after the steal, and he's got 2 free throws coming.
I can say this because I think UCLA is going to continue to get better, continue to evolve. They're not good enough to play the score yet. And no coach wants their team to play the score, but you're not good enough at what you do, both offensively and defensively, to not use this time to continue to get better. And I think they'll watch this film late because they've had a lot of good moments.
Timeout on the floor. 4:10 of teaching and coaching remaining here for the Bruins. 75-57. UCLA shooting 64% from 3. That's 9 of 14. But Don, Idaho State's gone on a 13-3 run.
Which doesn't mean they're going to come all the way back and win this game. I guess anything's possible, but I think the message from Mick Cronin is why are they making a run on us this late? When our defense, for the most part, especially in the second half, has been really good, except for the last 2, 3, 4 minutes.
And you can see how he feels right now about it. We've seen twice tonight a sub within 30 seconds of a timeout. Once of one player, once of 5.
We know one thing, Mick Cronin's going to get it out of his players, and they're going to compete, they're going to guard. And on the other side, again, if that three-point percentage can catch up, we know they're not going to turn it over. They value the ball. I just really think incorporating this many new players, that it's taken some time, and I think it's going to continue to evolve. But once you get to January, I think UCLA is going to be really good.
Of course, he took UCLA to the semis, took Gonzaga to overtime back in 21, and then back-to-back Sweet 16s in 2022 and 2023. Will Kyle gets fouled point blank, couldn't finish it, but he'll go to the line. To your point, the formula is well established. And, you know, he even said this week, the offensive part is what they're looking for. And we started the show by talking about it tonight. It's the defensive part.
And I don't think it's on the coaching staff. This isn't like they're not putting them in the right spots. They're not running good offense. It's about these players getting more comfortable in their roles, where they're getting to their spots, and just making shots. And they did that tonight. The minute they started making threes was the minute they blew this game open.
Well, you just saw that shot of the bench, a lane violation, so Kyle will get another free throw. There were four. You saw 5 players on the bench, 4 of them brand new to this team, right? There's Bilodeau on the left of your screen, Kobe Johnson from USC, Bilodeau from Oregon State, Trent Perry, a true freshman. Kyle can't convert.
Double dribble and a travel.
And it's a turnover. Isaiah Griffin, 16 points in this game for Idaho State. And now he'll come out.
He started like he was going to have 50.
He scored the first 12 of the night for them.
We're at the point of this game, Guy, where let's just finish this thing out and hope no one gets injured.
Here's Bilodeau looking for more.
See, that's what I'm saying. He had back to the defender and then spun back around. I like that inside pivot, face up, and then go.
Here's a 3 off the mark. And an offensive rebound. 9th of the night for Idaho State. And Stefanovic grabs that air ball. Here comes Sky Clark. Bilodeau with 18, Sebastian Mack with 17, and Eric Daly handling right there with 16 in this game. But Stefanovic is yet to score. He gives it to Bilodeau, who now has 20.
If he gets deep like that, that's an easier shot. But when you're 8 to 10 feet trying to pivot around to score, much more difficult.
You know, we've talked about this a little bit. It's part of the story of the non-conference, not just teams coming together, but trying to figure out how teams will match up. How does Bilodeau, you think, match up in the league this year? Do we have a sense for that? Yeah.
Depends on who they're playing, but that's the thing. UCLA does have some flexibility in the sense that you could play Bilodeau at the 5 and be smaller, or you bring Mara in or Kyle in and you're a little bit bigger.
Foul on Stefanovic.
But to your point, I think once we get into Big Ten play, there's not going to be a whole lot of deep post position scoring for Bilodeau. He's going to have to do what I was talking about in the first half. Get to that mid-post, give himself some space, and then operate.
The Big Ten Conference play, mentioned earlier, begins with Washington and Oregon in December. The first sort of new matchup for UCLA will be at Nebraska. And then how about Michigan will be here? And now we've got a timeout on the floor. So we'll step aside. Idaho takes the timeout.
Every season,
UCLA is led by as many as 28 in this half, 77 to 61. Tyler Bilodeau with his second 20-point game as a Bruin tonight.
Maybe the most important stat on the box score tonight, Bilodeau 4 of 4 from behind the three-point line. 3 of 13 coming in. He's a better shooter than that. You have to assume this night will get him back on track from behind that three-point line.
Bilodeau with the 20, Daly was 16, Mack was 17 for UCLA. Bilodeau had 23 in that loss to New Mexico earlier this year.
Idaho State picking up full.
So they're going to use the last 2:25.
This would be some comeback, I'll tell you that.
Well, it all started, okay, that was not a turnover, but it's going to be a tough inbound position for Lazar Stefanovic in the corner there with 2 seconds gone by on the shot clock. And he gets it into Clark. And Mack goes all the way to the rim and scores.
Break presses like that, usually you get something on the back end. Easy layup for Mack.
This will be a fun night to remember for Sebastian Mack. That ball was not touched by Daly, so it's into the backcourt and a turnover. And for Idaho State, that's the 12th tonight. For Mack, though, 19 points, 13 of them on free throws.
I would say a pretty good job, though, by Idaho State with only 12 turnovers against this UCLA defense that has been up and into them and picking up full for most of the night.
Yeah, since the night started, every ball handler feels like has had to deal with pressure. Stefanovic has that swatted away. It was a pass. Two on the shot clock. Mack sees it, catches some rim. The ball still alive, and here come the Bengals. Into a transition three. And it comes to Brown in the corner. Back to Bergen, and he converts. His third three of the game.
Well, you got to give Ryan Looney and his staff credit. These guys are still playing. They're not going to win this game, but it looked like UCLA was going to push this out to 30 plus. Sitting here at 15 with a minute to go.
Yeah. And they've blown out their last two opponents. I mean, they've made twice as many trips to Southern California as they've played home games, Idaho State, this year.
And they've been on the road for a while. You look at their schedule. They went to San Diego on Saturday, correct?
Yep.
And then Monday and then tonight. So they've been on the road for a decent amount of time.
Fullerton on Monday, and then this game. Yep. They had one home game, Southern Oregon, which followed the USC game, and they were at ASU before that. So, the reality is for a program like Idaho State, this is where they, in part, earn the money that
they have to
run the program.
There's no two ways about it. They can't operate as a program unless they take these games. And you look at it two ways. Yes, it's for, to fund your program, but it's also hopefully you're getting better, playing a higher level of competition than what you're going to see in the Big Sky every night.
And also think about it for 20 years from now, the experience of playing in this building, getting a chance to come to Pauley, and you get a shot at the UCLA Bruins. Jaden Brown hits a three. And we're not here to do Big Sky previews, but it'd be interesting to see what, I'm sure they will be interested to see what this team looks like in league play, because they have not backed down from the challenge tonight.
Can only help them, all these opportunities.
Mack, let's get one more trip to the free throw line for him. 13 of 14 tonight.
Well, what's the difference between the Big Sky and the Big Ten or the Big 12 or the SEC? Size and speed. Just a different level. High major conferences get bigger guys that are more athletic and probably a little more skilled. Doesn't mean these Big Sky players aren't good players. It just means that that's the jump up in level of competition.
Mack with 20 points tonight and 15 free throws on 16 attempts. Shot clock is off for Idaho State. UCLA still with 3 more home games in a row after this. And then a road game at Oregon. Big Ten play will begin for the Bruins at the end of this homestand. That 3 is good for Dabber Co, so he'll leave the building with a little bit of a good taste. And Sky Clark will dribble it out. UCLA led by as many as 28. And when it's all said and done, a 14-point win over Idaho State. Mick Cronin's group has won 3.